Hey there, welcome to the TuggyCo Sports Memorabilia Show. I am Cary. This is Greg. How you doing, Greg?
Doing all right. We are rolling right along, getting into week 3, starts tomorrow. We've got Patriots and Jets. So we are, knee deep into this thing already, and no one knows who's decent and who's not.
Speaking of week 3, we've got NFL walking into week 3, but you and I were just talking about preseason's right around the corner. It's like we just get out of the NBA Finals, we just got out of the Stanley Cup, we turn around, and this Saturday we've got preseason NHL. A couple weeks NBA kicks off. It's going to be a busy time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're getting right after it today. Camp starts for NHL. Players are reporting. I don't know if they're going on ice today, but they start tomorrow. And it's funny because the preseason for hockey is like mimicking baseball nowadays, where it's like, okay, a couple days of practice, let's just play games. Let's just play games.
And you're seeing injuries because of that. They're not practicing. They're not training. They're just getting in because they're sitting out. Right. You don't have the regular routines anymore. Your body's getting conditioned in a different way.
Sure.
Slew of injuries in week 2.
Oh yeah,
NFL.
Absolutely. And they, the regulations, are such that they dropped one preseason game, and the conditions for training camp are so that they don't get injured, so there's less hits. Now that just injuries take place during the season. So damned if you do, damned if you don't, I guess. But it seemed to work better the old way, really.
Well, one of the guys we're going to talk about in Hold or Sell this week is Justin Jefferson.
Right.
We've got his helmet. We'll bring that up in a little bit, but certainly he's got some injuries. And then you've got your fantasy football draft. Everyone that I was in 3. Everyone that I was in, either 1 or 2, was Christian McCaffrey, and of course he's got his annual I'm out.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why I went with CeeDee Lamb at first pick. I was like, nope, not going to happen. But I couldn't escape the injury bug because I took Jordan Love as a quarterback. So it impacts everybody. Everybody's fantasy team is, having to make moves or something at this point already.
All right, so let's talk about, so we've got some memorabilia here. We've got some week 2 outputs from what's happening on the field in terms of what's happening with merchandise. The first one I bring up, Caleb Williams. So let's talk about the reality between performance, hype, and pricing in the memorabilia.
Yeah.
When Caleb was going through his final USC, of course, in his junior year or whatever year he was, right? They all have postponed years, and I don't even know what year they're at. But he's got the Heisman. He comes back. He's a favorite.
Yep.
Values at an all-time high. He's got NIL money. He comes into the NFL.
Looks great in the preseason.
He's got some of his USC and early Chicago merchandise is going at a premium. It's starting to go up. Now he's got 2 weeks behind his belt, and he looks human.
Yeah, it plateaus, right? Like, so, you're talking hold, sell. All these rookies right now are at a holding pattern.
100%. There's no Stroud. Yeah. There's no CJ Stroud coming out at the moment.
No, not yet. And you figure, like we said, preseason's a lot shorter. It's a lot different than it once looked like. So, get to midpoint in the season, and you're going to see at least a couple of these guys bounce back up. So now's the time to hold on the rookies, see where they go, and it's going to do you no good to sell. So
let's switch leagues for a second, because Caitlin Clark went through this, right? She comes out. She's the great white hope. She's the phenomenon coming in. She's the best since sliced bread. She looks human the first quarter of the season, and now all of a sudden she's taking the world by storm.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great example, right? She comes in, and it's welcome to the WNBA, and she gets
like
her feet wet.
Elbows to the noggin. Welcome to the NBA.
She was and there's a piece of me. I know there's a lot of controversy about that and things, but there's a piece of me, old school. I kind of like that. Like, you're a rookie in this league. We're going to make you earn it, And now she's earning it, right? She's earned her stripes. She took a beating, and now you're seeing her elevate not only her game but her teammates as well. And she is the sensation that she was built to be.
What was the hockey move? Was it slap shot?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It was a little slap shot going on with Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember Jeremy Roenick. Grew up. He was a little bit ahead of me in Massachusetts, but local legend. Spent one day at BC and decided to go right from high school to the pros. And, just the next big thing coming out of the United States. And he got pummeled his first year. Yeah. Absolutely pummeled, because it's a whole different animal. And those guys aren't giving up their spots that easy to some young kid.
And we forget that, right? There's a fixed number of roster spots.
Right.
And that's my livelihood. That's my mortgage. That's my family's future. All that stuff that goes into it, sense of pride, right?
Right.
So one guy in means one guy out.
Yeah, that's for sure. So they're not giving that up without a fight, and you gotta basically toughen up quite a bit real quick to stay there. And some people do, and then there's some people that, Mac Jones out on you.
Yeah, and it's interesting with Caitlin. We had a card show recently.
Yep.
So my Spencer is 13. He's a big into cards. So we go to card shows. And for the first time, I'm starting to see displays of Caitlin Clark merchandise, right? And there's no comps. Like, there's no way to know if the numbers on Caitlin Clark cards and merchandise are they're higher or lower than they should be, because there's really no WNBA comp like this.
Right.
So you're looking at it and you're like, I don't know. Do I buy in? Do I buy not buy? Is this going to go up? Is this going to go down? What's the ceiling? What's going on? And I think a lot of folks feel that when they look at the rookies this year.
Oh yeah,
because that's the hype, right? So
Yep.
the rookies are: do I get in on Caleb? Do I get in on Daniels? Do I get in on Bo Nix? What am I doing?
Yep.
So I think after week 2, you start to see they're human. But this happened to Peyton. This happened to a lot of rookie quarterbacks. Tom Brady, right?
Sure.
I mean, they didn't look stellar coming in,
No.
and then all of a sudden you start to get, maybe 4 games under in the NFL, right?
Yeah,
4 games under, you start getting.
Yeah, you
getting
adjust to the speed, you adjust to how quickly things happen, and the tight windows you have to put those balls into that are vastly different than in the college game. It takes a little while, but you usually see that, like you said, week 5, 6, 7. Okay, this guy's getting his feet underneath him. He might have a chance, right?
Yep.
Or he might be something. And then you're gonna have a couple of the guys that are you're seeing it with Bryce Young right now, right? Like that it may never be.
There's your Mac Jones effect. So
yeah,
in terms of collecting value, thinking if this is going to be an increase or decrease, this might be the best time to get in at the moment if there's some dips, right?
Without
you got some
a doubt.
people that are trying to get rid of some merchandise they bought on the hype. You might be able to find at this point some people that are like, I'm not going forward with this guy. There's going to be some value there.
Right, absolutely.
If you believe that's going to go back up.
Yeah, you gotta trust your instincts and trust your eyes and see what you think but get in on it now, because it's going to be like, for some of these people it's only going to go up.
Cool. All right, so we were going to take a look today at paint jobs on helmets, because one of the things that we talk about in terms of value, presentation, desirability of a helmet is what it looks like, right?
Yep,
so
right.
in one of our articles, in one of our episodes, we talked about what makes a helmet worth more or less. Number one really is, who the hell is it?
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's just number one.
Yeah.
And then obviously condition, and if it's certified, if it's authentic, that kind of thing. But one of the things that helmets have, full-size helmets, not so much minis, but full-size helmets, is a variety of paint jobs. Right. So here at the shop, when we do auctions and we talk about these paint jobs, we have a few that come up time and time again. So I thought, Greg, we might go through and we'll describe it as best we can for the audio side of this, but for the video side of this, you can always see it on YouTube at TuggyCoSports.com. We'll show the helmets and kind of go through what each one looks like. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. So let's start with let's just call it custom paint. Let's just call it custom paint. So there's a number of painters. Some of them are known, some of them are just one-offs, but the ability of taking a helmet and then painting it to look different than it started, right? Is a custom paint, and there's a variety of styles and preferences and whatnot. We've seen some beautiful like collages, almost like graffiti collages, right? Killer Bees does that a lot. There's a company called Killer Bee Customs, and they do an awful lot of custom mirages. So I've seen skylines.
Some incredible. We saw a Green Bay one with Lambeau in the background. And
the city skyline on the Lawrence Taylor one that came in.
Yeah, it's really incredible. It's true art. The helmets that you're talking about with the custom paint job, and they're eye catching. So when we're running a show, we may have the camera facing what we're auctioning off, but in the background there might be a custom one for a custom show, and we always get questions like, "Hey, what's that Jets one over there?" It's like, "Oh, check this one out."
There was an Urlacher lid that went out on the auction last night. It's been in our show for maybe 3 or 4 days or whatnot, and it had a really nice kind of Chicago skyline to the back of it.
Yeah,
it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
It's just really incredible what they come out with, and it's it's unique, right? So it's a helmet that your friends aren't going to have. You're not going to see a ton of that on the collecting market, right? You can only grab it when you can. because they go very, very quick.
So I've got one here on video. I got a Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And it's a Jamar Chase salute to service, which means it's a green, right?
Yep.
You got that military green. It's a salute to military, to armed services kind of theme. And I'm assuming, I don't know.
Yep.
You never know the origin. I'm assuming that's where they started.
Sure.
Because the autograph is orange.
Yep.
And typically, or I've never heard of it otherwise, the helmet starts at its native
color,
design, whatever it looks like, right? And then they sign it, and then they paint and do the custom around it. So I'm guessing this was a green helmet.
Yep.
Because it's got an orange. I'll show it for the camera. It's got an orange signature.
Yep.
And then the custom paint has the drip, right? So there's an orange base that they put, that Cincinnati orange, and then they've got like this green paint drip coming down off the salute to service, so it looks like it was wet, right? It looks like it dried while it was on there, so you get this kind of really cool look.
Yeah, and that's a unique salute to service one. Usually it's just the full green color, the camo green, but with that, that gives it an extra little touch, and it matches the signature, which pops.
Visual appeal, that's just visually interesting. It's something that you don't see on a regular basis, and that's the whole point of a custom paint job, is to get you something at the end that you don't find in the store, you won't find online, and probably other folks just don't have.
No, absolutely. And that's, very, very desirable type of helmet, type of paint job.
Hydro Dip is another.
Here you go.
Again, we're taking a helmet. So Greg's got one on air here on video. So you're taking a helmet that started in a color. In this case, I'm going to say it's the green. This is a Curtis Martin Jets Speedflex helmet. He's got Hall of Fame 12, his signature on the front, in silver.
Yep.
So they probably gave him the green helmet. He signed it in silver. And then, again, there's stickers on top of it, but there's a hydro dip pattern here. And have you ever watched a hydro dip process take place?
I've never seen it. I would love to check it out, because it's pretty amazing, right?
A pool of liquid in a bin that gets really still, and they have different colors, and they steer it. There's a layer on top. There's a film on top, right? And they mix it to a point where there's some sort of a unique look, and then the helmet literally gets dipped in. Back up.
Phenomenal.
So, hydro dip. So you get that pattern, that recurring pattern. Now, whether this is called a hydro dip, so whether they actually dipped or just this is the effect of looking like that, you never know unless you ask the artist. But this is the pattern that goes on afterwards. Looks like they taped the top to a certain rectangle to protect it, and then the autograph is there. But that's a hydro dip.
Pretty amazing. Yeah,
it's really cool.
The cage has it too, which is pretty fancy.
So fantastic. And this one's got a visor and some custom bumpers, and it's just a really nice look and feel.
Great one.
Another one we call slate.
Yeah.
So whether or not these colors get worn on the field, this is slate. This is a slate gray. So what you'll see is typically it's a one-color logo on top of a slate gray helmet. This one has not been painted.
No.
So this one came out as a slate gray. It's got a red signature on top of the gray, and it just got this little different kind of matted feel to it, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. Yeah, absolutely. And the slates are like very, very popular too. I mean, they once again, it pops, it catches your eye, and so because at first, when you see the gray, you don't even know what team it is, right?
Correct.
So you see the logo, and it's like, oh wow, that's a Chiefs. And if you're a Chiefs fan, you're like, I got to have that one.
Yeah, that's nice. And then I have seen this in the mini. They do have slate in minis, but we're talking about fulls at the moment.
Yep.
So that's really cool. So that's a slate. And then we've got a lunar, which is a white. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the opposite. Do we have one behind us?
We do. We get the Eagles one up there.
So
those are some of my favorites.
Bring it over to the camera. It's similar to the slate, but instead of that gray, it's all white.
Yeah, it's a flat white.
So typically you've got a black logo at some point on a flat white. And this one again started out as white. You've got the green signature that goes with the Eagles. Even though the decal that went over the lunar here was black.
Yeah,
but it's just it's a different look, right?
Again,
it sure is. It's not your standard green and white helmet on the field. It's just a one color look going forward. But what I notice here is that the autograph and color pops, right?
Yeah, big time.
Sharp looking helmet.
Yep, very much so.
And you've got Ripped, right? We've got another one called Ripped.
Yep, Ripped is another one that incredibly popular. It pops. The uniqueness of it is pretty incredible.
So, Ripped is a term for having more than one logo on the helmet or more than one design. And in this case, I've got a Barry Sanders I'm holding on camera, and it's got 2 layers of paint or 2 layers of decal, 2 logos. Now, this one happens to have the silver lions being ripped, and then you see a white custom painted line underneath it. It almost looks like a claw mark that just tore paint off.
Like
the
literally
helmet, right?
ripped back. Yeah.
We had an Allen in here, which had his college logo underneath and the buffalo on top. Right?
Very cool.
So it was kind of ripped off. So you see the pro logo being ripped, and then revealing underneath was the college logo.
Right.
We've seen this with, let's just say, Peyton Manning.
Yep.
So we had Peyton helmet that came in. This was ripped, but it was like a Colts Bronco rip. So you had the Bronco logo ripped away to reveal the Colts. So ripped is just a terminology of having graphics that looks like something's being peeled away or ripped away, so to reveal something underneath it. That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, those are awesome. Those are awesome. And I do love the ones that have, whether it's Allen with the pro in college, like you said, or you get a prestigious player like a Peyton Manning that played for two different organizations that, had success in both. You get to do that, like a Brady with Patriots or Tampa, right?
There was one that came in. It was a triple rep. So it had Michigan underneath.
Yep.
And it had the Bucks, and it had the Pats. So it had all these different layers, some really complex kind of designs and rips. It was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. They can get very, very creative with it.
And so you and I were talking beforehand, there really is not a standard, and we've mentioned this before, there's not a standard like pricing index and pricing guide and go-to number one resource. It's really the open market. And
big time.
So when you talk about custom painting, it really does take what is this helmet worth to another level, because it's a unique presentation. You're really talking about something that may or may not exist somewhere else. You may have a one of one on here.
Absolutely.
And it really just comes down to comps in terms of how other custom painting for this particular player, size, and helmet has taken place. So you really got to do your homework, because there's really no absolute answer to what is the value, right? What is the value of this?
Yeah, it's amazing getting into this. I mean, you can Google specifically football helmets, right? Like, I mean, there's baseball cards, there's cards, discussions and things, but there is nothing out there in terms of football helmet memorabilia, like you're saying, like a one-stop shop to say this is valued at this, right? You almost have to go into the auctions and just see how people, past sold, how people are valuing things. It's just like you said, it's the open market, and and the market dictates.
All right, so let's get into value on one particular guy. We talked about Justin Jefferson coming in. We do hold and sell every episode.
That's right.
So as we go through, this is actually a mini that I'm holding up now. Oh, actually, this is one of the colors that we didn't talk about.
Yeah, it's a Flash.
That's kind of cool. So Flash is kind of a bright orange alt color for a helmet. And this one happens to be a mini. I'm holding the Justin Jefferson Flash Gold, right? Bright.
Yep.
And so Flash is just kind of an alternative look that typically has a brighter color.
Yep.
I've seen Green Bay come in at that bright green.
Right.
Yep. We've got Minnesota at the bright yellow. I think there's a Mean Joe Green spinning behind us now in that Steeler Gold. Right. There's a full-size Minnesota behind us, but it's just that bright alternative single color that kind of gets a little bit more pop. That's called a Flash.
Yes. Yeah. Very popular as well.
So Justin Jefferson. So one of the top paid, not just wide receivers, but players,
right,
in terms of guaranteed money in the NFL, was part of that LSU team that came out with Burrow and Chase and Jefferson. Just a remarkable prelude to the NFL. Has been been the top receiver for the top few years in the NFL, and very, very popular in terms of memorabilia.
For sure.
But this year we watch, and he's got a little bit of injury going on.
Yeah, he's tweaked something, right? So, and off season you might see some movement with his memorabilia, and the value with an established young player like that is, pretty high, right? Very, very desirable player to have for memorabilia. But now with a little bit of an injury, it's hanging on to it a little bit, right? Like, you just don't want to give that up quite yet. He's, once again, still young. He's going to have a bright future ahead. It doesn't seem like it's an injury that's going to really cause a ton of issues for him, hopefully, going forward. So you're hoping that he returns and elevates his game to that elite level again. At that point, that stock is going way up.
And I think from a hold or sell point of view, for me personally, it all depends on if you have it, what did I buy it at, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always a market for players like this, right? The Chases, the Jeffersons, the high level players that are not even in their prime yet, but certainly top of their game.
Right.
There's always a market to get it's sold. It's just a matter of how much of a return and what did you buy.
Right.
For.
Are you going to max out on it?
Right. So in terms of, is this going to go higher? I don't know in terms of the future, because like we've said, there's really no standard here. What I did notice in homework for this conversation and going in, and this makes complete sense, is the off-season months, that March, February, March to about now, to about August, prices tend to be lower.
Sure.
There's about a 15 to 20% drop in what was happening on a week basis. This is based on sold auctions, eBay, Pristine, and whatnot. And then as you get into early September, football's back.
Right.
Adrenaline's pumping, right? Blood's going through. You're all excited.
People can't wait.
To be a little bit more exciting. So I see that rise, right? That
oh,
rise.
big time. You think about it. Like I don't, currently have a ton of memorabilia, but in terms of just even, Patriot season starting, I need a new T-shirt. I'm not buying it in April.
And it is geographical too, right? That Minnesota
absolutely.
push and whatnot. Yeah, you're not going to go out and buy an NFL jersey in the spring.
No, you're waiting. So, and then you get that push at the beginning of the season. And, like back to Jefferson, he gets tweaked a little bit. But the other aspect of that too is, how's the team going to be? Is he going to be a high impact player? Because, you could be an impact player on a terrible team, and that's not really going to get you where you want to be. Sam Darnold steps in and all of a sudden looks like the guy that was drafted, really high, and this could be a good fill-in for J.J. McCarthy that they had the hopes on. Justin Jefferson's going to benefit from that.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see with Sam Darnold in a week or two, there probably wasn't much tape as far as taking him seriously. He's got a couple games.
Let's be honest.
Defensive coordinators are pretty smart. They'll start figuring it out. But who's throwing to him is just as important as what he's doing too. Yeah. So I don't know that there's a big trust in that Jefferson-Darnold combination moving forward. We saw what happened with another Minnesota receiver in the past, right? Yeah. We had Randy Moss when he comes over and plays with someone like Tom Brady. You've got records. So this guy has the opportunity of doing that. So I think for me, the hold or sell really comes down to how much you're in for it, right?
Yep.
And what's the situation that you're looking to do.
Without a doubt.
Yep. I think he's got great potential. So I think the ability of getting him to be a higher value comes from the future expectation that he's going to break a record or two moving forward. And then if that doesn't happen, I would sell immediately.
Right. Exactly.
All right, cool, man. Well, good spot, good segment, good information. I'm not going to close this out without asking you, because last time we talked about you getting ready for your daughter's wedding. How'd it go, brother?
Yeah, unbelievable. Couldn't ask for better. We're up here in Maine, and the weather can be fickle, but we've been fortunate and had an unbelievable September up here. Weather was 80 degrees. Ceremony was outside, overlooking Mount Katahdin, which is the biggest mountain in this area. Gigantic, beautiful, picturesque. Daughter was thrilled. When it's your daughter, you're just hoping she has the dream wedding she's thought about her whole life, right? And she's managed to have that. Got an opportunity to talk with her last night for the first time, because it was one of those, I'm going to let her be and let her call me when she's ready. So she called. She said, it's one of those things. She was thrilled, but it's almost like when you're a little kid, Christmas night, like after you've opened all your gifts and everything, and you're like, wow, I can wait another year for this, or this is over. Now her wedding is over, and it's like, wow, I wish I could recapture that a little bit. And as a dad, I wish I could bottle that moment for the rest of my life. It was just absolutely incredible.
And you got your first dance in?
Yeah, I did. We took some lessons and worked on a foxtrot, which was brand new to me, born with 2 left feet. So we managed to get Dad out there and had a wonderful father-daughter dance that brought the house down. So it was awesome.
That's no break dancing?
No break dancing. No. We're going to save that for the Australians.
Well, I'm glad it went well. Yeah, it was like 75 degrees, almost 80 last weekend. So good for you, bro.
Unheard of. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for checking in. This has been the TuggyCo Sports Memorabilia Show. You can find us at TuggyCoSports.com. If you've got some questions, shoot some notes. We've got Whatnot auctions on a regular basis. You'll find us on TikTok. We've got a couple groups on Facebook. Check us out. If you've got merchandise that you're looking to maybe see if there's an interest in trading or selling, we do have those conversations. There's a forum on the page. Go take a look. We've also got some resources on there for additional information on some of the stuff that we're talking about here. I'm Cary, and this is Greg. And until next time, TuggyCo Sports Memorabilia Show. Keep on tugging. See you soon.
Love it.